Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Kay Cote, and I am your podcast host. And today on the show, we have John Marsden, Managing Director of Bernhard's Nursery. Today, we're going to be talking with John about his business, about his journey to business ownership, and what it's really like to own and operate a business. If this is your first time on our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop episodes like this one. Well, welcome to the show, John. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, thank you for being here. I'd like to dive in right away. Tell me a little brief about you and a little bit about Bernhard's Nursery.
Okay, well, I study and trained in horticulture and management of husbandry of plants, etc. Botanical garden training, been through the college system here, over here as well, so to over degree level. Um, Member of various associations, so the Institute of Horticulture, chartered member, and of the HTA, which is the Horticultural Trades Association in the UK, where we have steering group committees and various other lobbying groups that help with UK plant production, trees, etc. And the business itself that I work for and I operate is Bernhard's Nurseries. We're based right in the centre of the UK in Rugby in Warwickshire, but we transport plants and trees and all that sort of material all the way around the UK and sometimes into Europe as well.
Oh, wonderful. Um, and so what does kind of like a typical day-to-day look like for for you as a managing director?
Like any company, really, I've got the usual day-to-day HR, admin, accounts, all that sort of side of things. But I try to make sure I get out and see the team. We have lots of different sites. So crop walk, where we look at inspect the stock, the trees, the plants. We do quite a bit of contract growing, which is for builders and for not so much garden centres, but smaller retailers, etc. We're predominantly wholesale, so into councils and people like that. So we don't really get involved with bedding so much, but all that sort of supply. So my day is quite varied and also a little bit seasonal. So it will change through the season. So in the summer, which we're in now, we're about 30 degrees today, so it's nice and warm. But in the winter time where we're lifting trees, it's minus sort of 5-10 degrees, and the guys are pulling trees out of the field. So it really sort of varies week to week, month to month, and I quite enjoy that seasonality, really.
Oh, I agree with you there. It's kind of nice to have the natural rhythm of
Absolutely.
the seasons. It's very, very cool. Well, thank you for that brief overview. And you mentioned you have a staff. So how many employees do you guys have?
It's not a massive group. So Bernhard's Nurseries is a company within sort of Bernhard's Group, if you can imagine. So we have a landscape group, sports services group, and Bernhard's Grinders as well. So there's different companies, all which are green companies, if that makes sense. So we slot in and we provide a lot of the plant and tree material into group, but also we have our own set of customers as well. Really, it's a varied sort of day-to-day arrangement of what goes where, transport, and all those side of things. So yeah,
Mhm.
it keeps it interesting for
Oh,
me.
definitely. So, kind of kicking it off the bat, what one thing you wish people knew more about your business?
Really, it's our sounds daft, but our green credentials, really. Um, one tree is a tree is a tree. You might say apples are apples, eggs are eggs, but within the production of a product, especially within Europe and the UK, we have to meet very high standards nowadays. Probably same as in the US. So we are a completely peat-free nursery. So we grow plants without peat, which is a benefit to the environment. There's no CO2 release, etc., associated with peat usage. We reuse our water. We have a full extensive biosecurity policy, so minimal chemical usage. All that side of things is how we go about and produce the plant that they ultimately end up with. It's just a sign of quality, really, and we hope that people see that. We've just been plant healthy registered as well, which is a very high accreditation within the UK. Only about 80 nurseries have it. And it just sets us apart, really, from your day-to-day smaller nurseries that are just growing stuff in black pots, peat, etc., and are driving for price. We are not only price orientated, but we drive for quality and that it's a sustainable product that we can be proud of.
Oh, well, that's incredible. It's really awesome to hear that you've gotten that new, the plant healthy, um, recognition. And then, so I kind of like to dive into marketing because it sounds like you've
Yeah,
got this really good thing going. How are you telling folks about it?
yeah, that's right. Well, at the moment, we are redoing our website, so it's a little bit static, a little bit stale. It's kind of the new site that's there at the moment, but we're building a new web shop into it.
Mhm,
It's difficult on the wholesale side because we contract grow and we have large, I mean, really large trees that we can transport around. We supply into Chelsea Flower Show, you might have heard of, Hampton Court, lots of the big prestigious events across the UK. So
mhm,
we'll grow for garden designers and various people. And that gets us marketing both at the show and on the television over here.
mhm.
And through social media outlets is quite good for us these days. So our Twitter following is several thousand now,
Mhm.
Facebook, etc. So they're all part of the marketing funnel, as I call it, which leads into our sales team in the offices.
Awesome, awesome. That's good to hear. Well, the TV one, that's the first time I've heard that. I've done quite a few of these interviews, and so
Yeah,
getting TV recognition, that is really cool.
it's not a huge amount, but we get snippets. We if we don't contract and do the growing for the gardens that ultimately end up on the TV, they'd have nothing to show. So we've got a few garden designers we work with who are really excellent, really industry recognised, and they're constantly plugging away on their Twitter feeds and podcasts and all that kind of jazz. And it really helps us, and it gets us out there to a really good cream top end customers, which we like to supply.
Definitely.
Mentioning no names, but we have some very high end customers.
Oh, I love that. So I want to kind of get to know you a little bit, share a little bit about your
Okay.
story. So my first question is, why did you decide to go into business for yourself as opposed to working for somebody else? And what was that transition like for you?
Well, I've worked at various companies previously, built up industry experience. I came into Bernhard's about 12, 13 years ago now, having best part of 15 years of experience behind me. Worked with JB, the owner sort of at the time. Unfortunately, he's passed away now, but he wanted to, he was a very elderly sort of gentleman, wanted to make sure that the business was in safe hands. And we worked together really to redevelop the existing business that was here and
Mhm.
turn it into something for the 21st century, really. And I found that exciting. I get control, we get to lead and take the business in the direction that we want to, and we try to innovate and stay ahead of the curve slightly, both in production, what we grow, trends, environmental responsibilities, so that people can see that you are buying a product, but it's all that sort of preparation and all that plant husbandry and all that experience, etc., that goes into it that gets
Mhm.
you that sort of high end product at the end of the day that will work in their landscape.
Oh, definitely. And I really respect someone who's good with plants. I am not very good with my house plants, and so I
Okay,
always I'm
no
always like
problem.
I know that the work that goes in. But
I've
um
killed a few myself, so don't worry about that.
I'm pretty, I mean, cactuses die in my house, and so anyways, I digress. So looking back at your journey so far,
Mm.
what is something you face, like a challenge within business growth, that forced you to grow and overcome it, and like how did that affect you as a business
um,
owner?
I think it's a bit like every business. You have um, growth periods and plateau periods, as I call them. So, one of the growth periods and exciting periods, unfortunately, was COVID, really. I mean, we had a period where we thought, gosh, we're going to have to shut the business down, going to be in, real problems. But actually, we were allowed to stay open because we're outside. A lot of the guys, they work apart. We're able to put in social distancing, all those kind of measures. And we found that people were sat at home with nothing to do, and they all took a massive interest in their gardens. I mean, we're a nation of gardeners, as they say, the
Mhm.
UK, Great Britain, and well, England rather. And people wanted to spend time in their outdoor space, because they couldn't go to parks, they couldn't go to restaurants, they couldn't go to the cinema or the bowling alleys, or so they wanted to make their space green and as pleasant as they could. So we were getting a huge amount of email, telephone, online orders. So we had to grow during a period where it was hard to interview and take people on because of all the associated issues. But we kind of managed, got through it, did a really good growth that through sort of 2019, 2020 into 21. That kind of plateaued into 22 a little bit, and then started to creep back up again in 23, 24. We've had an incredible wet period this year, so it meant that our season was slightly disrupted in the winter months and into the spring, but we've sort of clawed that back and coped with it into the summertime this year. So it's been an interesting, that's a recent growth pattern. What we didn't want to see was us slipping back after COVID and just maintaining the previous kind of turnover. We've used the money and experience, etc., we gained from that to invest not only in the team, the staff, but into we put a new multi-span polytunnels up, so another 2,500 square meters of growing space, all to allow us to keep going and grow and expand the business. Essentially, we're a growing business in a literal sense, and everything else. So yeah, it's been an interesting few years, but we keep striving forward, trying to innovate and find new niches.
Oh, well, that's an incredible story, and I'm so happy to hear that you had a growth season through that, that time where, a lot of businesses
Well,
really,
hopefully we brought a bit of joy to people when it was when it was not a great time for people also. So it was an interesting time for everybody.
100%. I love that you, were able to bring some joy. And, seeing that you're growing, you're in a growing season, you're moving forward. What do you see the company doing in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, we've just sort of just finishing off our we have a sort of 1, 2, 3, 5 up to 20-year business plan overall. A lot of it will be more closely associating with our existing companies as well. So we see a lot more synergies on the work that we do with our sister companies, both in terms of landscaping, golf courses, etc., and providing plants into high-end landscapes. We do that already, but we've got a new sales guy. We've taken on Lewis. He's really getting out there and getting the orders in. Because of the plant healthy status, we can get into Royal Horticultural Society sites, botanic gardens, and also large private houses and private estates where people have, large, estates themselves, pools, etc., and they want that high-end landscaping. And so we have different income streams is how we split the sales team recently. So people purely targeted to speak to and deal with individual customers. So the customers are going to get more of a sort of intimate experience in terms of dealing with our team. So they'll speak to one person every time they call in that will deal with their order from start to finish, rather than it going through the sales machine that we've previously used. And we're finding that is really helpful. They'll phone in, they'll ask for Christine, they'll ask for Lewis, and the various people on the team, and that will it maintains that relationship and keeps the sales
going. That's really good. And
that makes sense.
what is your approach to goal setting in the company? How do you reach your goals?
Well, there's sort of 2 or 3 different types of goals, really. They've got the personal goals for the staff. So we'll set training targets and things we'd like to see them achieve. We also give them, obviously sales targets involved, as you'd appreciate, but there's also, I've got a team of growers as well. So how do you set growers' goals? And it's, I want to see, 90% of the stock go out, and we minimize wastage, all those sort of things, because it all goes to the bottom line. So everybody within the team has different goals to help, make sure that the business remains profitable and we're all, happy, and you can go out and have a few drinks at Christmas.
Yes. Oh, that's very cool. Well, this has been such a fun conversation, and I want to dive into a section of questions called the rapid fire questions. And these questions are
Okay.
geared for you to just answer the first thing that comes to top of mind. So, are you ready for some rapid fire?
I will try my best.
You're going to do great. All right. So, first question is, what is the key to success for you?
Innovation, never stand
Mm,
still. You've
mhm.
got to embrace change, basically. Always happening in Europe, new regulations, all these things. If you stand still, you're dead. You need to be moving forward. And nobody likes a dead plant. So
That's a really good line for sure. What is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
be brave, look at what's happening. Don't be afraid to change, innovate, try new things. Because if you don't, you'll just do the same thing day in, day out, and you stand still. And if we
Yeah,
stand still, again, you're that dead plant.
this is true. What is one book you've read or any piece of content, could be a podcast, anything that you've taken in most recently?
Um, well, I like to read obviously horticultural books, but that'd be rather boring. But I read Dave Grohl's, I think it's The Storyteller, his autobiography recently. It's been out for a few years, but I don't get an awful lot of time to sit around and read. But I had a vacation recently, and so managed to kick back and read that. And I love the Foo Fighters, right back to Nirvana, etc. And it was great too. It's a nice little read, really. Yeah,
I love that. Some of my favorite bands too.
fantastic.
And if you could choose only one area of business you could rapidly improve tomorrow, what would it be?
Um, I'd like to say the production side of it, obviously being
Mhm.
my heart, I'm a grower. I like to see plants. I like to get out there and get my hands dirty. Unfortunately, once you get to my level, you end up driving a desk rather than getting your hands in the muck and working with the plants that you love. But looking at good quality production, making sure that plants go out right and are produced in a responsible way is the key thing to improving your business. Good product, you'll always sell it.
Oh, so true. Well, this has been so much fun. And before we get to our final question, how can people find you?
Obviously, visit our website, Bernhard's nurseries.co.uk, or just look up Bernhard's Plants on Twitter or on Facebook. Put in Bernhard's Nurseries onto the Google, you'll find us pretty much. Otherwise, in person, we've got a wholesale cash and carry, which is in Rugby in the West Midlands of the UK. We're only about an hour north of London. We get a lot of people in visiting, selecting stock, tagging trees, all that kind of stuff. We'd love to see you.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you, John. This has been such an
Thank you.
inspiring conversation. And for our final question today, what is most inspiring to you today?
Um, just seeing how the world is changing, developing, podcasts, all these kind of things are really helpful and useful to us as a business to get our name out there and reach more customers. And I find it so exciting and refreshing that we have all these media available to us now to promote ourselves and actually to see other businesses and educate ourselves in something that we wouldn't have ordinarily looked at maybe 5 or 10 years ago. I get a lot from looking at other people's podcasts that might not be in the same industry as me, but I'll get little hits and tips from people, and it's fantastic. Businesses working together, it's the way forward.
Oh, wonderful. Well, John, thank you again. This has been a great conversation. It's been a joy to have you on
Thank
the
you.
show.
Leave you be. Thank you very much.